welcome to another episode of Moon Moxie. I'm Stevie.
And I'm Katie.
And we're here today to talk to you about the wonderful celebration of Imbolc and
All of the transits that are going to be leading up to it, including the beautiful snow moon that's going to be happening as the window closes.
let me guess how it was named.
Kind of, because I don't know about y'all, but right now here in sunny Florida, it is freezing.
Did you hear that North Florida, like the Panhandle, got snow?
I mean, I am not surprised by that. I lived in North Florida for many years and it would happen every once in a while, but I think the thing that's been weird about the snow that we've gotten the last couple of years in the Panhandle is it's like real snow. It's not like
Right,
a
it's not just
dusting. It's not like
melted.
yeah. So that's weird. I know that yesterday I woke up and I was planning on having a fire here last night. And
How'd it go?
well, immediately I walked outside and I was like, this is not happening because it was like hurricane winds.
Dude, I think they were actually saying gust up to 25 plus miles per hour. So, like, tropical storm force
Yeah.
winds,
E
only with cold,
yeah.
icy rain.
My friends who were supposed to come over, like, texted me one by one, like, "Yeah, not gonna happen," and I was like, "No worries." So,
Mhm.
ended up just having another friend over, and we watched, have you ever seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I feel like I have. Can you remind me of the premise?
So, we just kinda really wanted to watch a Tarantino film, and we were like, "Well, let's pick
What
one."
year Tarantino is it?
It's a newer one. Yeah, I think that one was, like, 2018, 2019. Because I remember being like, "Why didn't I watch this?" "Oh, that's when I was getting married, then the pandemic happened, and blah, blah, blah,
You got
blah."
married in 2019?
October
Why
2019,
do I feel like it was longer than that? I don't know.
because it feels like a really long time. Yeah, so the premise of it was like as the golden age of Hollywood is ending, and I don't wanna, like, give it away because it had a nice little twist at the end. It follows Leonardo DiCaprio's character who is kind of starting to get a little more washed out in his career, like, he was an old Hollywood, like, movie star, and now he's doing, like, TV, and he's kind of depressed about it, and his stunt double, who is played by Brad Pitt, and, like, Brad Pitt is just kind of, like, exactly what you would expect out of a stuntman, but he's really pretty. I mean, he
And
is.
it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah, and he's really pretty. It follows them, but then, like, the parallel story is that it's also following Sharon Tate as she is kinda coming up in her career right around the time that the Manson murders are happening.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so I don't wanna give it away, but I thought it had a nice little twist at the end. I
Where did you view it on?
I just rented it.
Okay.
Yeah.
From who?
Apple TV?
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
See, technology is just changing so fast sometimes. You gotta ask where you renting things these days.
I mean, some people like to rent through Amazon. I have a like, my library is through Apple TV, so, like,
Mm.
as I buy movies, I'll go there to rent because, like, every once in a while, you'll go to rent a movie, and it'll be just as cheap to buy it as to rent it.
Oh,
So, like,
weird.
I did that last week. Me and Justin wanted to watch Romy and Michelle's high school
Oh my
reunion.
god, classic.
Oh, I love that.
Classic.
That was the first rated R movie I ever snuck
Wait,
into.
it's rated R?
That movie is rated R. God knows why it's rated R. I guess language, maybe because, like, you see Lisa Kudrow's bra. I don't know.
Raw.
Yeah, like, you don't even see her tits. Yeah, you just see her bra. Although you do see Kate Winslet's tits in Titanic, and that one's rated PG-13. So, or I don't know.
What?
I don't know why Romy and Michelle is rated R, but I have this very clear memory of being it was like 1998, being a little, almost like tweeny, and then, going to the movies to see something else and sneaking into Romy and Michelle's high school reunion, which is just, I mean, it's a great if you're gonna sneak
It's a
into a
great best friend movie.
yeah, if you're
It
gonna
takes you through all the
oh
art.
my god, Romy.
But I can't believe it's rated R.
Yeah, it's crazy
Yeah,
that
those
it's
are
rated
mine.
R.
Those
Clementine loves that movie too, so she
She
likes a
looks
good
so adorable
a
in her
90s
sweater
way.
today.
Yeah, she does. So Clementine is wearing this, turtleneck.
Magenta?
It's like a magenta turtleneck, and she really needs some pearls. If
She
and
does.
pearls so she can clutch them. She looks like she should be, like, drinking white wine with ice in it, you
Oh
know?
my god, she totally does. Did you know they make pet safe, puppy nail polish?
Oh my god. I think she would love it. She's a bougie dog. She likes to be fancy. When you put on a sweater for her, she, like, puts on a persona. She's doing honestly, I gotta give props to Clementine. She's not old. She's still a relatively young dog, but We've been working on some behaviors that are, not desirable.
Getting better.
She's getting better. You can teach an old dog new tricks.
How is she out in public? Have you tried it?
In public, it's a little bit harder. Like, so you've seen, so
'Cause
just
it's about her barking, right?
yeah, she's a doodle,
Yeah.
right? So she's got a loud mouth. She just loves attention. So we've been working on it here at the house, and it's a little harder in public because I can't get her to like
Focus.
just chill and focus. So that's why one of the things I've been working on with her is like, come look at me, and like I'm having her face away from you all because I want her to be able to do that in public too. So that'll be phase 2, but we
Mhm.
haven't gotten to phase 2 yet. But phase 1 is going real good.
Well, good.
Yeah,
She'll get there.
she'll get
By the
there.
end of the year, she'll get there.
Yeah, yeah,
Some
yeah.
resolutions for her. I mean, and her birthday's coming up soon too, so
Yeah, can we blame
birthday
her?
resolution.
She's a Pisces. She just wants to tell you all about her feelings. Like, that's really it.
Just
She's like,
say hi.
"Hi, did you know that I'm Clementine? That I'm the cutest dog that you ever saw? Please love me, pet me, love me."
So, Katie, would you like to hear about our upcoming solstice celebration?
I absolutely would, and I think that of all of the solstices, it might be maybe because it's between, like, the winter and the spring. I don't really know anything about Imbolc.
Yeah, and that's pretty much precisely it, kind of what you were alluding to. It is the solstice that is in between winter and spring. So between the winter and the spring equinox, between Yule and Ostara. If you think about a seed, so you plant a seed, and there's a lot that goes on between the moment you put that seed in the ground and it becomes the flower or the corn stalk that you see above ground.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Imbolc is all about that in between state. It actually comes from an Irish word that means in the belly.
Ooh, that's kinda
Mhm.
cool. So it's like when the cells are multiplying.
Yes, it's the in between. So small actions that the change is there, the change is happening, but you might not notice them yet. Say you're building up to run a 5K. So maybe originally you would walk for 10 minutes, run for 30 seconds. Now you're starting to be able to run like 45 seconds. So it's like the small changes that are building you up to being able to run that 5K.
I love that because that's exactly what we have been tasked to do at this point in our astrological year. So thank you for giving me that little bit of, insight around how to work with the energy of Imbolc.
Yeah. And then another name for Imbolc, so it's also celebrated as St. Brigid's Day, which is another Irish Celtic holiday, which celebrates a real person. So St. Bridget herself, she chose to not get married, so good for her. Yeah, yeah, probably lived a very long life because she chose not to get married.
Also, like, to become sainted is a big deal. You have to have performed these, like, miracles,
Miracles, yeah.
and then not only do you have to have performed the miracles, but also you have to be voted in,
I didn't
basically.
realize there was a vote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know,
Hmm.
people when they talk about Catholicism, they'll be like, "Oh, you worship all of these gods." No, Catholics worship one God. However, what they do is they ask for the intercession of the saints. So with somebody like Saint Bridget, I might feel very close to her story, and I might say, "Saint Bridget, can you talk to God for me? I know that you're in heaven. I know that you're close to God, and I really need somebody to, like, get in his ear and be like, 'Hey.'"
Okay, so they're kind of like the middlemen.
Almost like an advocate.
So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
like,
Well, St. Bridget, she's one of the 3 patron saints of the entire country of Ireland.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so talk
Pretty
about
cool.
a badass lady.
Yeah.
And she was very big on charity and helping the poor.
Oh, Saint Brigid, famous for founding the monastery of Kildare in Ireland around the 5th century, a significant double monastery for men and
Women,
women.
yes. And she came, it's said to be from a chieftain and a slave. And she's supposed to be the saint of nuns, newborns, midwives, dairy maidens, and cattle. And what's interesting too, so St. Bridget's Day in bulk is also a celebration of the goddess Brigid, which in Celtic mythology, she known as one of the most powerful deities.
What I think is really cool about Ireland is how very mystical it is,
But also
but also religious.
yeah,
Like, it
yeah.
is such a religious place, but it is such a mystical place, and I feel like they live in, like, tandem with each other.
Right, they live in that in between where they straddle both because I think it's a great area to look to see how both can be true, like, where these 2 cultures really do mold and blend. And it also just shows how, like, when Catholicism first came in, how those people, well, the Romans, really did work with their assimilation, so to speak, right?
Yes.
To where they like, all right, so you celebrate this goddess Brigid.
Let me draw the pair. Let me show you why we're not so different, you and I.
Exactly.
Which, like,
Exactly.
let's learn a little bit from the Romans there. Maybe not the conquering part,
Maybe not the conquering part,
but,
but there's some people who try to do the conquering part too. Absolutely.
so back to Saint Bridget.
So part of her sainthood was she allegedly healed this chieftain who was in this state of delirium, right? Like, he was very sick, very ill, and then was just, like, out of his wits' end, and so through her calming voice, Saint Bridget, like, talked to him as she began to fold what is now known as the Brigid's cross, and because of this action, it calmed the delirium from this chieftain, and he was eventually, like, from the religious standpoint of Saint Bridget, was, inspired to become baptized and then died, and then therefore his soul was able to go to heaven. So that's part of her sainthood story. So now we have the Saint Bridget's cross. It's a protective talisman, essentially. It's made from straw or some other thick grassy type material, and it's something that you put over doors to protect the household, but to also protect livestock. This celebration of Imbolc is also a celebration of prosperity that's to come. So traditionally, it followed the birthing cycle of sheep. So if you think about it, in the belly, right? Comes from the word literally in the belly. What's in the belly of some of our livestock that will determine whether we have a more prosperous year or not. So some deities that are associated with Imbolc are Brigid herself. So she is again one of the most powerful deities in ancient Celtic culture. She's the goddess of like poetry, of midwifery, of the hearth, essentially. So very important deity. And then Aphrodite is also associated with Imbolc. And as we move on to Hestia, another hearth goddess, we can talk about anything without talking about the Romans.
I mean, honestly, you gotta give it to the Romans because let's really talk about Italy itself. It's not that big of a country.
No,
No, it's a
very
bit
big
big
with
with
the
the British.
peninsula.
These are small places in Europe, and they just have influenced
Mhm.
culture in such a massive way.
Right. Like imagine if Florida, because Italy's a peninsula, Florida's a peninsula. Hear me out. Imagine if Florida had the same level of influence.
Like 2,000 years ago, they're like the Tampanians.
That sounds terrible.
Let me tell you about the Tampanians. They had this festival of pirates. It was called Gasparilla.
Which is coming up soon.
Yeah.
Stay safe out there, kids.
I mean, I don't do that, but I do love that in Tampa we
We
have
celebrate pirates.
yeah, we have a pirate festival.
That goes on for at least a week.
Yeah, it's like it's big. It's big.
It's like Mardi Gras level big.
Yeah, and there's like day parades and night parades
There's a
and
paw parade.
music festivals. It's it's a serious business
Mhm.
here in Tampa Bay.
It is. Like, and traffic's terrible, so you avoid it all.
Yeah, I don't do that.
So also February. Februarys, who was a god of death and rebirth. This eventually transformed or evolved to be a celebration of Vesta, who is the Roman version of Hestia, the Greek goddess of the hearth. This involved a lot of bonfires. Fire was a big symbol for this holiday because fire is the great cleanser.
Oh yeah, and it makes sense too because I don't know about you, but like fire magic is probably my favorite kind of magic.
Same. I mean, just feel so connected to it. And I mean, if you think about it too, so with Yule and that winter equinox, we're now at that time as daylight is becoming slowly longer. So I don't know if you noticed, like yesterday, once the clouds departed, it was still somewhat sunny at like 6 o'clock.
Thank God for that, people. I hate a short day. I hate coming home and it being dark out
Sun
already.
goes down, I'm down.
No, exactly. I want a long night. I wanna be walking my dog at 8 p.m.
Or 9 p.m. So, Imbolc is really just like it's a very personal because we're looking at that internal growth aspect. It's a very personal like celebration with fire. So this is a great time to start cleansing your spaces, whether it's that spring cleaning and then a spiritual cleaning, in that there are more than one ways other than sage to cleanse a space. Because, yes, sage can be great and everything, but, we also have to look at the cultural appropriateness, right? Or even, like, the region appropriateness. Like, if sage doesn't come from your area, maybe use something else. Because you can also, like, with smoke cleansing, you can use things like cedar, Palo Santo, if that's in your practice. So it's, like, being mindful of the tools that we are using in our magic work, from an environmental and, cultural standpoint.
I mean, also you can use sound to cleanse.
Yes, sound. The most free way you can use sound is clapping.
Yep, clapping or, some kind of percussive instrument, something to just
Mhm.
clear the air of the room, just be
Right.
intentional about it, you
Because
know?
sometimes, like, when we have pets, that smoke isn't always good for them, and there are certain scents that can be toxic.
Good to know,
Yeah.
because I burn incense all the time.
Yeah, and they make, reduced smoke incense too, which can be more
Ooh,
helpful.
lovely. So, I try to do it in a way that, like, it's in another room and just kinda, like, flows into the room that I'm in, but, yeah, I burn incense quite a lot. I was actually thinking about this yesterday. I was like, "Do I burn incense so much because of my Catholic upbringing?"
Right?
Because, like, in Catholicism, they put the incense in those big things, and they, like,
Mhm.
swing it around, and, like, you're sitting in church, and it's like it creates a whole sensory experience.
Yeah, it does reset the energy because fire, smoke, they are really powerful cleansers.
Well, I took a class in college that was called Sociology of Body, and it was my favorite class that I ever took. Every week we talked about a different type of way that society works on the body. And so
Interesting.
when we got to the time where we were talking about religion and the way that religion works on the body, or we were talking about like working bodies, like the way that like labor works on the body, it's with Catholicism, it's interesting because there is a there's a thing that you'll see in, like, communist societies where they want everybody to do the same movements, so they'll start training their population for things like massive dance, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
"Okay, we have a dance for our country, and this is our country's
Mm,
dance,"
I see what you're
because
saying.
it's like your body is moving in tandem with the collective, and so you are more associated with the collective, and it actually makes your brain easier to influence. So the same thing happens
Interesting.
in Catholic Church where
Because
you
the
stand
nails,
up,
the stand,
sit down, kneel, stand up, sit down, kneel. So you're actually in the collective, like,
really
working
connecting.
your body
Mhm.
with each other, and then it actually makes your brain more malleable to, suggestion. So that's
Interesting.
why they have you do it at the beginning and at the end of the mass.
And so, like, especially in high school, I was, like, very much like, "Oh, yeah." Like, if someone invited me to their church, I would say, "Yeah." And so my friend invited me to her Catholic church, and it was really interesting too, and you probably know this, but, like, because I wasn't Catholic, still am not, but because I wasn't Catholic at the time, when it came to the communion part, I had to, like, cross my hands across
Yep.
my
You
chest.
cross your hands and then you walk up and then the priest blesses you.
Right. I'm like,
It's
"Oh,
like, "You're cute."
you're adorable.
Yeah.
Maybe you can earn your way in."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of little stuff that we do in Catholicism that, like, it is beyond just, like, that genuflect. You know what the genuflect is?
Mhm.
It's when you in the
Right.
name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but
Mhm.
you also actually kneel.
Oh,
So, like, when
bend more
you
knees. Ow.
yeah, anytime that you're facing where the Eucharist is, like the altar, you're supposed to like give respect to it. So as you walk in, before you get into the pew to sit down, you're supposed to genuflect. So you're supposed to take a knee, and then in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, and then you go and you can sit in your pew. They also have this thing, it's called adoration. So once the host is consecrated. So once they take the little wafer, like once they transfigure it
Yes.
into
I know what you're talking
the
about.
body and blood of Christ, they'll actually do this thing where they put it in this big gold thing called a monstrance, which I think is a funny name. And they'll put it in a room, and you can go and just sit with God. Is
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, Catholicism is just very ritualistic, which is
yeah.
so fascinating. I think it's part of why it's also, like, survived this long too.
I think the reason Catholicism has survived this long is because of the way that the church is structured based off of the people's reliance on the priest, right?
There's that too.
So when I make my first communion, before that, I have to have my first reconciliation. That's like you go through all of these different sacraments as a young Catholic person coming up in the church, and
Mm.
you can't receive the body and blood of Christ until you have gone through
X, Y, and Z.
confession.
Yeah.
And that's what reconciliation is.
Hmm.
So even think about like the way that it's framed, like reconciliation. So I need to like reconcile my sins with a priest before I am worthy of going. And some like really Orthodox Catholics will take confession every time before taking communion, and like will do what were talking about, where it's like it's not just if I'm Catholic that I can do the cross arms and get the blessing. It's if I am going through a divorce. So like they would consider that being divorced from God. Even though I have had communion, I've taken all the sacraments. When I go to the church, I don't take communion because technically I'm not supposed to take communion because I'm a homosexual that is practicing homosexuality. So that would be there's two different types of sins in Catholicism. There's the venial sins that you're like everyday sins, and then there's the mortal sins, and those are the sins that they say if you die with one of those sins on your heart, you go directly to hell.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
But unless you're rich enough, and then you can have some pay your way up through hell, right?
that or they call, confession, I call it, like, the water purification system for your soul. So or you go to a
I
priest.
just pictured a Brita filter.
That's exactly what it is. You go to a priest, you say, "Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned. It's been
Right,
days
like
since my
any kind of
last
show or
confession."
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go through the whole thing where you actually confess your sins, and so what that did to people is it made them reliant on the institution of the church in order to have a relationship with God, and that's why I think it's so long-standing because of that reliance and the way that it's been built generation to generation. I prefer to have a direct relationship with God,
Right.
and so that's where it gets a little dicey for me when it
And
comes
that's
to
why there's so
religion.
many different, like, sects, right, of, the Christian faith,
Yeah.
essentially. Um,
I was like, of Catholicism, there really isn't that
no,
many.
but, like, that's why there's so many parcels, essentially. Um, but yeah, so that's basically all that I have when it comes to Imbolc. It's really about focusing on that germination of the seed.
Ooh, germination is a really good term. That's a science term if you don't know it. What I have today for us to reflect on is a little bit of an astrological breakdown for the energy and astrology that's happening around in bulk. So I've looked at January 26th to February 2nd. I have a couple things here I put on the table for you to play
Okay.
around with. I have our dice and I have our Weird Sisters deck. And so what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to roll the dice and then pull a card.
All right. So I selected this peach colored die and I'm going to roll that. So we have the card picked.
Drum roll.
Oh, and that's sweet. I'm going to describe it first. So it's a beautiful card. It has greens and yellows and some purples. It has 2 feet and what looks like an orchid facing the sun, a beautiful ray of sun, and a hummingbird flying through the sun. So very spring-esque.
That's so springy.
And it's called A Spell for Joy.
Ooh, a spell for joy. Yes.
So what better thing to germinate than a spell for joy?
I love that. I need a little bit more joy in my life.
A spell for joy. Be glorious in the movements of your mundane chores. Take pleasure in the heat of the sun on your face and your hair. Send sweet greetings to the pollinators of the world who are keeping the honey flowing, the flowers blooming, the fruits ripening. May your joy be found in small corners of light and raucous waves of enchantment. I love that word, raucous. Spell ingredients: a hummingbird flight, brown sugar sunlight reflecting on water, webs and weavings being in your body.
Ooh.
So kind of like how I'm reading this too is this is almost perfect with like that germination, with that germination cycle of Imbolc. So being a very internal practice, just really turning inward to yourself and practicing gratitude for those subtle changes that you're making every day. Maybe even if you don't feel like it, pushing yourself a little bit to doing those things like spring cleaning and cleansing your
Yeah.
home, making space for what you want to come to fruition.
Even like a little feng shui, like I shared when you got here today, that I've just been moving things around. Like not big furniture, I've just been saying, "Okay, like, the energy of this doesn't vibe, and the energy of this doesn't vibe, and, like, how can I move the space around a little bit so that it feels a little bit more free flowing in,
Right.
like, my home
Set the
space?"
stage. Set
Yeah.
the stage for what you wanna manifest.
Yeah, setting the stage for what you wanna manifest, and, yeah, so let's roll the dice and see, what other insights that we can get from the dice.
So again, I picked that peach colored dye, which is the magic type.
Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So now we have some type of germination activity to focus on. And
Well, because if you think about it, germination generates a lot of heat.
yeah, it
It is
really
an
does.
agent of change. Oh my God, fire magic. Oh, Brigid.
Ah,
Wow, all these things
wow.
connecting, the brain waves, let me tell you. Now that you know your intention, whether it be love, money, protection, let's have fun deciding what kind of spell to cast. Whether you took to the night sky, consult your tarot deck, or draw yourself a magical bath, use your creativity to cast a spell directed toward your desired manifestation.
Well, that's lovely. I do love an intentional bath. I think that for me, we don't always get to like we don't have a bathtub. So sometimes that intentional bath can just be an intentional shower for me.
Exactly. I love a shower
Yeah,
steamer.
a shower steamer where I'm, like, just, like, sitting and I will picture the energy that's flowing off of me. Oh, this is a perfect time to so I went to this breathwork course last week, um,
Nice.
and it was
Oh, yeah, the one that you were talking about, like, from the chiropractor office, it
mhm,
had a special name to it, right?
yeah, it's heliotropic breathwork. So, what was really interesting about it was that, like, there was a lot of people in the room. So first I was like, there's gonna be a lot of energy in here. Like I didn't know how I was feeling about it, and I was feeling a little anxious. Like, I even said when I got there, because it was like one of those things where the universe was conspiring against me to make me not go. Like I was like a little late getting home from work that day,
Mhm.
and it was the day that there was a giant Verizon outage.
Oh, do you
And
have that?
I have Verizon, so my phone had been out all day. So I couldn't touch my phone. I couldn't email or call or anything. And also in our day and age that I couldn't use my GPS. So, I'd only been to this chiropractor's office, like, twice. It's right down the road, but I couldn't remember if it was on 5th or if it was on 1st. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna drive by memory," but because it was late at n night, they had all of their lights off. I drove right past it and didn't see it. So then I'm, like, driving in a circle. I ended up finding it, thank God. I walked in, but I was walking in, like, really close to the time that it was starting, and so it was a really full room, and as I walked in, I said to one of the doctors, "I don't wanna be in the way." And
Oh.
I thought that
Oh,
was
that's profound.
yeah, I thought that was really interesting because what one of the things that the doctor had said to me about my posture was that the way that my posture has gotten like this was years of trying to hide myself.
See, I don't think this was the universe getting in your way, like you said just a moment ago. I think it's just the universe kind of, you know how sometimes you're in that moment of growth and you get thrown like all these tests? I think you're just getting thrown a bunch of tests all at once.
Yes, exactly. And then I was a little nervous about the actual breath work because as I read into it, it's the type of breath work it can mimic a trip, like a hallucinogenic trip in your head. And I had a bad trip a few years ago and like I've been nervous about tripping since
Ever
then.
since, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm just gonna full send it. I'm just gonna feel like I'm in a good space. I trust these people, they're doctors, like nothing's gonna happen. So we started off doing this dragon breathing where you have to hang your head backwards off of the pillow
So
and
are you lying down this whole time?
laying down with your full jaw open. And then you do it like
Almost like you're hyperventilating.
exactly. The science behind it is it puts your body into a stress state, and it puts your body into a stress state so that then you can start to build your stress tolerance by, well, you're in a safe state, putting your body into a state and then bring your body down from it. So, and it's supposed to be very uncomfortable. So he had us do that for 10 minutes and then we went into like 40 minutes of the heliotropic breathing. So then that breathing is like really quick, like lips purse, like in and out, like
The whole time.
the whole time. So, as we're going through it, some people are shouting, some people are clenching, some people
Shouting?
yeah, it's just about, like, getting the energy out of your body. Just whatever comes up in your body, just let it come out, just let it come out. This is all about, like, cleansing your body. I was going through it, I was going through that hard thing, and, they said, "If you get to a point where it feels really hard, it's okay, you can just slow down your breath." So I would get to a moment, and then I would just slow down my breath. I'd get to a moment, and then I'd just slow down my breath, and then I was like, "I just need to push through this moment. I need to not slow down my breath."
And when you say slowing down your breath, you're still doing that pursed lip.
Yeah.
So, like, just so I understand it correctly, like, typically, so when they say slow down their breath, like, the group as a whole, we're kind of like the aim is to be breathing the same pace,
Yeah.
which is like tempoed.
Exactly, they've got a drum and they're walking around and they're, like, beating the drum and they're like, "Go with the music, go with the music, go with the music, go with the music." So, I was getting to the point where I was like, "Okay, I'm starting to feel anxious." I slow down my breath. I'm starting to feel anxious. I slow down my breath, and then I was like, "You just need to push through this. Like, you just need to push through the anxiety and just experience whatever you're gonna experience in this." And when I did that, I saw, because my eyes are closed, but, like, over my body, this big, dark, black energy flowing. Have you ever seen, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them? Okay. It's like the Obscurus. It was like this big Obscurus, like, floating over me, and I was, like, looking at it. I was observing it because that was the other thing he said is, like, try to get to the inside of you where you're the observer of yourself. And so I was, like, picturing myself laying on the ground, observing myself having this experience with that black energy just, like, flowing over top of me, and I heard in my head, "You don't have to hold the energy that's not yours to carry."
Which I think you mentioned something a little bit about last time we recorded because, like, when you were describing how kind of you transmute your being empathic, like, transmute your, the energy you receive from others.
Yes,
So you
in
kind of already had that practice starting to built in.
exactly. So what I realized in this moment was that last time when I had the bad trip, it wasn't a bad trip. It was experiencing the dark energy that was held by somebody else, and that dark energy had attached to me because that energy has been inside of me now for so many years. I need to go through this practice of releasing it, and I need to do the hard work that it's gonna take to release that energy, and then after I did that, like, I felt like I was having moments where I was just, like, screaming it out of my body, and, like, my whole body was, like, clenching and then unclenching and clenching and unclenching to release it and kinda shaking, and then for the last 10 minutes, they had us go into a slow breath. That's when I personally really got into that state where I was, like, above my body, that almost, like, astral projection state, and I was really observing my energy and
Yours.
other people's energy attached to me, like my pure light energy. And as I observed it, it was so beautiful. Like it was like, this is the energy that exists in you. This is your life force.
Right.
Don't let that dark energy that's not yours be carried with you because it's not yours. So now, as I've experienced anxiety this week, I've kept that mantra: don't carry the energy that's not yours to carry.
Did they provide any sort of aftercare?
They did. So they had a circle to close it up, to process. Yeah, it was very good experience.
So the sign that we rolled on for the dice is astrology. So, what's your sign? By now, you should at least know your sun sign, all 12 of which come with unique traits and skill sets. Using astrology and spell work can take many forms. First, you may wish to invoke the powers of your sign. For instance, if you're a Scorpio, the sign of death and rebirth, which is the time that we're kind of in, and perhaps it's time for a spiritual makeover. I
Ooh.
love that idea of switching the idea of death and rebirth. It's just like, oh, we're just doing a little makeover, right? However, because our complete charts contain all 12 signs, you can invoke the power of any sign you want. Tap into the seasons. For instance, use a money spell to attend a work function during Gemini season, which has a reputation for flirting, socializing, and networking with great success. You can also look to see what sign the moon body is in. For instance, when the moon is in sensual Taurus, ruled by the lover planet Venus, it can be an ideal night for a love spell. So, how to work with the different energies.
So that brings me to the ritual I wanted to share. So,
Great.
you know, as we're in this germination period, and I talk about loving to do a little bit of fire magic, my plan for Imbolc is to go to the spell shop and to get a white candle.
Okay.
And in that white candle, I am going to sit for the week leading up to it. And I think every night I'm just going to kind of roll it in my hands.
It's like one of the skinny candles, not one that's like a little tea candle.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like one of those skinny candles, I kind of maybe roll it in my hand. You might put some kind of a sigil on it if you want to carve a message into it, but just really put the energy that you want to release when you light the candle into the candle.
What you want to release.
And as you do that, I also want you to be thinking about journaling on every night leading up to it. Once you start doing this, what wants to begin through me this season? So, what am I going to let the universe channel through me in the season as we're moving through winter? approaching spring, right? We keep talking about hibernation. We keep talking about letting yourself rejuvenate. This is the time to start those actions, like to wake up, right? So what do you want to call in? This could be energy, this could be financial abundance, this could be socialization. Like, what do I want to begin inside of me that is something that I can start to put some action towards? And then on the night of the full moon, as we're closing the window, I want you to take that and I want you to light the candle and watch it. And what I will probably do is I will probably use that candle to burn up my little journaling pages and let the universe have it, right?
I love
So,
that. That's a great idea just to let that candle that you've already put so much intention and magic into,
yeah,
just
just let it
finish it
burn.
up.
But let's talk a little bit more about the astrology that's happening around this incredible season that we're so cold in, right? The overall energetic tone of this moment between the winter solstice and spring equinox is that we're starting to get those first stirrings of light. The light is returning, and the intentions that we really set are beginning to take form. So, this is really that period that we go from that inner germination and start to get to that outward ignition. So we're shaking off our hibernation
We're put through
period.
the soil.
Yeah, we're popping up. We're not blooming yet.
No, we're just that little baby stalk that's just popping up through the soil right now.
Exactly. So you're going to have some major transits that are happening the week of January 26th. And, it's going to start with Neptune entering Aries. Neptune is the ruler of spirituality, intuitions, dream, imagination, and our collective
I've
consciousness.
been having wild dreams, vivid wild
Wild
dreams.
dreams. I'm still not having dreams, still not dreaming, but
I'm almost jealous.
that makes sense. And then Aries is all about courage, identity, action. Um, this is the first major generational shift since the 1800s.
What?
Okay, so in Neptune entering Aries, this is a big one, right? So what's going to change is we were in Pisces Neptune before, which was spiritual sensitivity, dissolution, surrender, and this Aries Neptune is spiritual courage, embodied faith, inspired action. So you can really start to see it even like in what is happening in this cultural moment. It's like there is so much that is being ignited, so much energy that is now coming into action. So it's really, really interesting that this is happening right now. Your big takeaways here is that your intuition wants movement. I heard somebody say yesterday that anxiety happens when energy has nowhere to go.
I've heard that before too, and it's honestly so powerful, which is why we need to move our bodies more, get off the couch.
Move a muscle, change a thought.
Yep.
Like literally.
And
And
sometimes it's as simple as just opening your front door and taking a step.
yes, and that's when you do that, you can activate your spiritual side, you can activate the collective, you can activate all of these things. It's a really, really a good time to start to connect with others, whether it's your neighbors and getting to know your neighbors a little bit more, your coworkers, people in your community, whether it's people online, it's just about becoming more of a collective and working together for that collective energy. Yep. So going more towards that collective energy, we are still in our sun is still in Aquarius, and remember that Aquarius has these themes of our innovation, collective systems, detachment from outdated structures. So
Oof. And we're combining that with some big action?
some big action. So,
Okay.
remember to stay future oriented during this time. Try not to live too much in the future, but think about while you're grounded in this moment, what might be coming next? You might have a strong pull towards collaborating with others and how to reimagine systems, right?
Yeah, you make a good point of like, don't get too caught up in the future plans. So I think maybe if you just focus on kind of the vibe. Am I being drawn to something that's more creative? And being drawn to something that has more structure? Am I wanting to plan for a family, or am I wanting to plan for travel, or just being outside more? Right.
Well, and beyond just the self, the collective future, like what am I putting in that's going to help my community? What am I doing that is gonna I mean, even we've been talking about doing something live, getting people together, starting to capitalize on this moment. And I don't mean capitalize in like the
No, but
monetary.
like just
bringing people together so that we can start to build community, right? So that's where I really want you to be thinking about the future in the sense of beyond the self, right? In the sense of the collective and the community. We also have a moon in Taurus at the beginning of the week that's going to ground us and stabilize us. It's a good time to slowly, steadily start working towards those new beginnings. Towards the end of the week, the moon moves into my favorite sign of Gemini. So you might have some curiosity. It's a good time for conversation. It's a good time to really share ideas and brainstorm and gather information.
Again, the community.
Yep. 30th through the 31st, the moon is moving to Cancer. So this is more about emotional safety and intuition and really just tend to those emotional roots. It's a good time to maybe do some inner work, do some therapy work, do some journaling. On February 1st, the full moon moves into the lovely sign of Leo. This is a culmination point of the week. It's all about creative expression, confidence, and then Leo is leading with
The heart.
your heart. Yeah, just lead with
So
your heart.
so
Listen
cute. So sweet.
listen to it. Okay, listen to your heart. What you're really gonna see through this week is that if you start to think about the collective and focus on that future vision and then ground yourself in expression and think about your value systems and how it lines up to the collective, you're gonna start to feel a little more tapped in. If you're feeling disconnected, this is a good time to reconnect.
I mean, what are some ways that, because when the world is so overwhelming feeling, it can be kind of like you were saying with your story with going to the breath work, it can almost be daunting to even think about reconnecting and diving into that community. So how do you get yourself over that speed hump?
It's not one thing, right? One, accountability. As much as you can, stay accountable to yourself, to others, to your friends, your family, whatever it is. Um, my second pillar in life is therapy. We've talked about this a bunch of times. I have a therapist that I schedule out every 2 weeks. We just have it on the books. It is not a question. I've been seeing her for over a decade, and, every 2 weeks, I go see her. We sometimes have really deep discussion, sometimes we just meditate, sometimes we complain about the world, sometimes we just talk about movies. But the point is that it's a consistent practice, and so there are times in my life where I'm gonna be fighting for something that I really need more support, and there are times that I'm gonna be in maintenance, and there are times that I go in there and I'm like, "Hey, I got nothing today," and those are the times that we dig the deepest because those are the times that you get into the shit, you know?
Right. Like, okay, so I feel like I'm in a stable state. And then you're like, I have nothing to talk about.
Then she's like, "Let's talk about your body."
Like, oh, dang it. Now I have so much to talk about.
So, therapy is another big one for me, and then the other one is just having a strong routine. Sometimes people don't wanna be too structured,
Hmm.
but having a routine really, really helps me because it keeps me on track. In those days where I don't wanna move, it moves for me. So, like, feeding my body 3 times a day. It doesn't have to be like, "I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna eat this specific amount of
Right.
food and da
Like,
da
I'm
da
just gonna
da."
make sure I get something in my body before I leave the
Yeah.
house. Okay.
And then I'm gonna get something in my body sometime halfway through the day, and then I'm gonna get something in my body sometime in the evening. And it doesn't have to be that structured, but that's the routine. Or I'm gonna go to sleep, and before I go to sleep, me and Clementine are gonna have 30 minutes of play, and then we're gonna have like 30 minutes of cuddling, and then, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. And it's part of the routine of the day. And structuring it that way really helps me to stay the course. And then the other thing is play, have fun. You know,
Play is important.
life is too serious.
It is. And I mean, I was listening to something today about like how easy it is for children just to get like hidden movement in,
Mm.
right? Because, you know, you don't think twice when you see a child running down the street laughing or crying, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. But then there's this unspoken magical age where that you turn as a human and you're no longer able to do that. Like, unless you're in like proper workout gear, it looks weird if you're running down the sidewalk.
For real. And what's funny about that is like I think the thing that has been the most healing for me is connecting to my inner child. And I remember when I started doing inner child work, the first thing that we did in my therapy was we did a meditation. And in that meditation, it was supposed to guide you to your inner child. I saw nothing. It was like What does your inner child look like? I have no idea. What gender is your inner child? I have no idea. What do they sound like? I have no idea. What do they like to do? I have no idea. And so the more I got into it and I learned how to connect with that inner child, the more I was able to start to heal the parts of me that were hurt during that point in
Right.
time.
And, speaking of inner child work, I think we're coming into Imbolc, a time of germinations. What better time than to start working with the inner child, right? So maybe that could be a takeaway for our listeners. Like maybe you start to dip your toe into some inner child work.
Yeah, and I mean, just in case you don't know anything about inner child work, it could be anything. Like the thing that helps me more than anything to connect with my inner child is to play video games. Now, I am not one of these people that I play video games all day every day, but like yesterday when I had a little bit of time, I played Spider-Man. Oh my gosh,
How fun. Yeah.
how joyful it is to just pretend to be Spider-Man and whip around the city.
For me, I like to go to the park, to the woods, and like,
Yeah.
because you can go hiking and it's like, okay, we're hiking. Or I like to do a nice, slow, intentional hike where I am looking at the base of the tree or I am looking and stopping at the spider web,
Yeah.
and really, like, I play with my inner child through curiosity.
Or maybe when you were a kid, you really liked to go to the library.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
like, when was
loved.
the last time that you hit up a library?
Always support your local library. They offer so many things.
So many
My
things.
local library just started renting out music instruments.
Ooh, fun. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so, so cool. But yeah, music's another one. Like, what is the thing that dance? What is the thing that helps you to play and connect with that? And it might take a while. Like I'm telling you, it wasn't until I picked up a little, game controller and I was like, "Oh my God." Like it was just this little 12-year-old Katie that was just like ignited cuz I used to play PlayStation, right?
Right.
And so getting that PlayStation and it was like a muscle memory thing. It's really interesting the way that the muscles work to ignite your working memory, right? Your deep, deep, deep memories.
Well, Katie, anything else in the stars for us today?
I think that, the last thing I want to talk about is that the day after Imbolc, as the window closes, we do have our snow moon. So the snow moon is named as such because it is
Snowy.
and cold.
Even in Florida, it snows.
Yeah,
We talked about
and
that earlier.
the way that I always like to work with the full moon energy is it's a good time for releasing things. So if we're thinking about that
The
germination,
melting of the snow.
the melting of the snow, if we're thinking about that in between state, it's what do you need to let go of right now so that when the spring comes and you're ready to bloom and you're ready to plant those seeds and you're ready to really, really take flight, that you aren't carrying stuff that's not yours to carry.
Oh, kind of like what you noticed from your breath work.
Exactly.
That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah,
Well, so till next time,
till next time. And just want to tease a little bit that maybe y-
come March.
you might be able to see us live. Yeah, little ceremony, little activity. So, more to come on details on that. But please hold the date of March 21st if you have it. And please, please, if you like the podcast, like, subscribe, comment, tell us,
Share.
share, tell us what you like about it. Tell us what you want to hear from us. It's something that we're really loving and enjoying doing, but we really want to make sure that we're connecting with the collective.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So we'll see you next time on
Full
Moon
Moxie.
Moxie.